Hey everyone, in today's episode we're going to continue our setup of our Ansible Lab. Specifically on our controller node, we're going to create a SSH key, and then we're going to create an Ansible job to push our public key to our managed hosts. Let's get started. Okay, we are on the Ansible controller, and the first thing we need to do is create our SSH key. To set up your SSH root key, I like to just use the auto complete that bash has, so I'll do SSH, tab twice, and then you can see a command called ssh-keygen. We're going to type that. We're going to follow the prompts. Pay attention to where it's generating the public and private key. So the first one here is saying, hey, I want to create the private key, and this is a location where it's going to save it. We will be using these locations, at least for this next one here, for the public key. Okay, so we've created our keys. Next, we need to create our playbook so we can push our public key to the managed nodes. All right, so we go to the Ansible directory. If you're not already there, we're going to create a playbook, and we're going to call it push public key.yaml. 3 to signify start of a YAML document. We're going to name our play, and it's going to push public root key to managed servers. Okay, and then hosts. We're going to, we haven't created our inventory yet, but we will. We're going to create a group called managed hosts. Gather facts false. Tasks name push add root public key to host. All right, module is next. Ansible.builtin. Authorized keys, key, colon, and then user, of course we're just doing this for the user root right now. If you're doing it for another user, you would use that user's information. State present. It's what I really like about this. It's idempotent, which basically means that it will only make a change if it needs to, at least when it comes to this module. Key. Now we're going to use a specific thing called a lookup plugin. So it starts off with like you're making a variable. And of course you type in lookup. We're going to tell it to use the specific file lookup, and then we're going to tell it where to go. So root.ssh, and then id_rsa.pub. Okay, we're pretty much done here. Save this. Then we need to set up our inventory. Now the inventory is not, well, you can, there's two different syntaxes you can use for the inventory. You can use a YAML syntax or an INI syntax. I'm going to use the INI syntax because it's easier to read, at least for me it is. All right, so we're going to do controller, and we'll call it Ansible controller, and then managed hosts, and then this is where we'll type in our managed hosts. Now we've defined our inventory. Oh yeah, there's one more thing I need to do. Let's go to the root .ssh. As you can see, we have an authorized keys file. We have IDRSA, which is our private key, and then we have a public key. So what we're going to do is we're going to cat we're going to take our public key here, and we're just going to add it on the controller node here. This is how you would have to do it on all the hosts if you wanted to add your the ability to SSH to your using SSH keys to your host. However, we just need to do this on the controller. Now that we're done with that, we're going to go back to our Ansible directory, and we're going to look at our playbook one last time. It's going to manage hosts. Everything looks good. Let's look at the inventory. Manage hosts. Okay, now we're going to type in the command to run the playbook. This is actually very long. I will post it down in the description. Just give me a moment here. I'm going to type it out and I'll explain a little bit about what options I'm using. There is a better way of not having to type all this in, and that's by using a configuration file for Ansible Navigator. In future episodes, I'll show you how to do that because it can be a pain to type all this in. Ansible Navigator run mode stdout playbook name inventory. Now we're typing in the execution environment. Now we're telling it the pull policy. We only want to pull the execution environment if it's missing on the local host. Now these next two are very, very important. Since we are connecting to the host or the managed hosts, and we don't have an SSH key on those, we have to do password authentication. This will allow us to do it, but we have to do these two flags I'm about to do in conjunction. So ask pass, and then we have to, and this is the important one, disable Playbook Artifacts. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run this. I'll explain artifacts later. All right, as we can see, Ansible is saying it's changed in terms of its status for the two Ansible managed hosts. So it looks like we have added our root public SSH key. We're going to test this out. We're just going to SSH to Ansible manage host 1. And look at that. It didn't ask for the password. Very cool. And let's try for 2. Very cool. Way easier than having to go through and edit the authorized hosts file, isn't it? Way easier. Okay, so give you I talked about artifacts earlier. This file right here is an artifact. This is when we ran the debug job in the previous episode. Just a JSON file, and it's pretty much the output of what Ansible did. It's great for debugging. Usually I have it disabled because it can create a lot of files, especially if you're working on something. Now, if I ever do need it, and sometimes I do, I will enable it manually with the --PAE true. Okay, hopefully you all enjoyed today's episode. We will continue on our next video on setting up our Ansible Lab. We still have a lot of work to do. We have to create a user. We have to set that user's SSH key up. We have to set up sudo rules for that user, because we really shouldn't be running everything in root for Ansible. And it makes sense because we have to set up users to begin with, and we don't have a super user account. But next episode, we'll be heading towards that. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, please click on this like and subscribe button. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I'll be glad to answer any comments. Also, if you have any requests too, I would love to help out my audience with any requests they have. Until then, I'll see you later. Have a good day.